Everything begins with a good story. And the majority of books, the majority of acquisitions that happens in a publishing house are still traditional. Because despite the amount of talk there is about ebooks and every other kind of presentation of content, it's only 12 to 15% of sales for each publishing house that is in the ebook realm, which means 85% of what we do is still print publishing. And apps and enhancements are very expensive. And publishers rarely do an ebook when they're not also doing a print book. So things still, 85% of the sales, and the way we still acquire and think about books begins with the P-book. But that is the print book. But all of this, the new creative activities, means tremendous flexibility for you. All of the new digital world means great flexibility for you. And flexibility that has already started in what we can see in certain formats. Things like graphic novels, for example, interactivity in writing. And what I talk about is the sort of vox populi, and that is the voice of the people, the voice of the fan, the voice of the reader becoming more and more important to what we all do. So, for example, fan fiction. And you can just look at the enormous success of E.L. James and 50 Shades of Grey. Remember that all started as fan fiction on the Twilight site. Writers can get early feedback from their readers, post a chapter or two, and see how people respond to it and act and react accordingly. Or if you want to get your book published, you can think about crowdfunding. You can go to places like Kickstarter or Unbound or Indiegogo. And if people like what they read, they might actually choose to invest in your work and help you to self-publish. And then there's the varieties of self-publishing and partner publishing that exist now. But it is true that the farther along we get on this trajectory of creative enhancements, publishers and editors are now at least looking for transmedia potential. They may not be ready to do it themselves, they may not even be ready to license it out, but they're thinking, they have to be thinking ahead. What is the transmedia potential here? And as I see someone like Rob Sawyer in the room, this is somebody who's been thinking this way ever since he started writing. Because there's no doubt that the science fiction people, the fantasy people have been well ahead of the curve, and this is where the direction where you can interpret the story in so many different ways. So when I say that editors and publishers are looking for transmedia potential, what exactly do I mean? Well, I don't mean ebooks. Ebooks are now taken for granted. And let me tell you that they are just another format. So you have your hardcover format, your paperback formats of various kinds, and your digital format, your ebook. That is the literal translation. That's nothing more than the verbatim book put into ebook format. And because of my association with Penguin, I know that in 1935, when Alan Lane invented the Penguin, the first paperback books, there was an extraordinary outcry. This was going to destroy publishing. How could publishing go beyond this revolutionary form? So the same thing is happening now with the ebook. That is just another format. I'm talking about the stages after that. So there's the enhanced ebook, where there may be video or music involved. There's interactive websites, and I'm going to show you one of them. There are apps and there are games. All of these things are the kinds of potential that your story might lead to. And the digital revolution has been both exciting and disturbing for publishers, as they have to change their organizational models and all their methods to adapt to this, because it isn't just the ebook, it's all the other areas of the digital revolution that everybody has to adapt to. And for writers, well, there's a lot to learn for you too, and a lot of adapting to be done as well. But I think the digital age gives you more power. In particular, I'm going to try and talk today about the power of creativity and the power of connectivity. First, let's look at some examples of new creative expression. This first is a piece of writing that appeared in Walrus magazine in 2010 by Stephen Marsh, Lucy Harden's Missing Period. It's a choose-your-own adventure for adults. It's an interesting experiment, to be sure. Marsh rejects the static narrative of most novels and instead hands the power over to the reader. For instance, at the end of the first section, and there are roughly 150 in total, you decide whether Lucy gets out of bed or sleeps a little longer. And depending on how you answer, you'll experience one of hundreds or even thousands of unique works. If you Google Lucy Harden's Missing Period and Walrus, you'll go onto this site, and there is a way of going from here into the story so you can try it out yourself. You need to have Firefox to do that, and when you try it out yourself, you'll find that you get to make the decisions about what happens next. And one of the decisions you get to make is whether she's pregnant or not, and if you go in the yes, she's pregnant, Miss Lucy Harden's Missing Period, then you get to decide whether she aborts or not. It's a serious story, but you, the reader, gets to decide the direction that it goes in. Okay, so this is a completely interactive experience for adults. The next I'm going to show you is very sophisticated, and you may be aware of it already. It is based on the Oscar-winning animated film. It's an app and a conventional book. And on their site, they refer to it as the reinvention of digital storytelling, where you can repair books, tumble through a storm, learn the piano, and even get lost in a book, flying through a magical world of words. Using rich CG animation, innovative interactivity, original composed music, and unique games sprinkled throughout the book, this app will revive a love of story in all. And this is called Chopsticks. It's something entirely new, in my opinion, and very, very exciting. It's published by a new imprint of Penguin coming out of the US called Razorbill, and it's for young adults. And it's the story of Glory, a musical prodigy about to play at Carnegie Hall. And her mother dies, and this sends her into a depression. She retreats into her own world. What saves her is meeting this young Spanish man who moves in next door. And this connects her to the real world once again. But when her father decides that they should move, she once again, her mental state worsens, and she obsesses on the piano piece Chopsticks. And then she disappears. Okay, so that was pretty quick. This is an ad for it, so you can download the app itself, or you can see this demo. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about this, because just by seeing the demo doesn't really give you a full sense of what it is. It's called a visual work of fiction. Not a book, not a video, not an app. When I tried it out for the first time, it took me about an hour and a half to do it, and I didn't get all the way through or go in all the many directions and try out everything that you can try out in this book. It is definitely non-linear reading and requires full participation, I can't even say from the reader. You're definitely reading things, but you're doing so much else as well. You're reordering books in the pictures in her scrapbook. You're reading their instant messages. You're moving around. You're listening to different kinds of music. You're watching videos. It's extraordinary. And Russell Smith recently in the Globe and Mail quoted someone as saying, "Reading is also writing." And that is so true now. So there are many interactive features in this, accessed by touching the musical notes. There's the videos, there's the music that the lovers enjoy that you can share. And let me say that there's, with everything that I'm showing you, music is a really important feature in a lot of this. In Chopsticks, the text appears to convey quiet conversation or instant message conversations. It's in Spanish and English in certain parts, and it's far from being a conventional book with no straightforward narrative text, but it has a really strong storyline. I mean, you're very aware of this story. It's available in a physical book, and it's available as an app. And the last one that I'm going to show you is Canadian. It's a collaboration between TVO NFB and Pop Sandbox Productions and publishing.
It can overtake you. It can overtake your mind and your body. And when you're feeling it, you just want it to go away. Because when you're feeling those emotions, you can't just wait. Like, you can't just wait till the next day.
Notice that at the bottom it says this is not a crisis service. If you're in crisis, please click here.
And I've tried to commit suicide 5 times. They were all overdoses, with my parents being called and told, you might want to come in and say your goodbyes.
It was after a crack cocaine binge, and I just didn't want to live anymore. I drank this substance, and very quickly, I was unconscious.
I went out to the bar, and then all of a sudden, I just started crying. All I could think of the whole way home was, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I tried to hang myself in my closet.
I thought to myself, would I be sad if I died today? It took me 2 mouthfuls to swallow all the pills. Looked in the mirror, said goodbye, Chantal.
I loved the home I grew up in. I had a good childhood. Because after that, there was a divorce, and then life became
So
extremely messy.
in this, you can
my parents
follow
lost
the
me when we were
stories
young.
of each of the characters. These are true stories. And as you'll see in a moment, a variety of words come up. And if you are someone with suicidal thoughts, one of these words might correspond to your own feelings. You click on those words, and you will get, you will go into that person talking about that thing. Okay, so I wanted to show you that this is the book. This is a Canadian book and interactive website. And again, I really encourage you to try it out. It's a graphic presentation of much of what you've seen. So I'm just going to very quickly go over this challenge of creativity. How will you learn about this technology and learn to be comfortable experimenting in these new formats? Who will control the content? How can we encourage partnerships and collaborations across platforms? And how can we encourage you to think this way and to move into this sort of brave new world? I'm going to, is that the end of my time? Okay, so another time I will talk to you about the challenge of connectivity. But for now, thanks. I hope I've shown you some interesting examples.